Hi, everybody. Monday was overall a negative session. I saw a lot of intraday reversals off the highs in leading stocks where they closed near the lows. And that's basically how the indexes trade. The good news is it wasn't that bad. Technically, when we look at here, the NASDAQ did not give a distribution day. A distribution day is technically being down 0.20% on volume higher than the day before. And once again, remember, when volume's only slightly lower or higher, I really don't give a shit. And today, that's kind of the case because the NASDAQ shows slightly higher volume on Telechart, Worden Brothers, but on MarketSmith, I got lower volume. So it's basically break even, not a big deal, but still, overall, the intraday action, not that great, but it wasn't that bad either. The S&P 500 also down 0.46%. Volume was lower than the day before on both Worden and Telechart. I mean, both Worden and MarketSmith, so not much to worry about there. And overall, the positive structure internally still is there. MACD, TSV is trending higher off the lows, and so is stochastics and RSI. So everything is kind of lined up there for continued price, highs. Nasdaq's not bad, but it's not great either. It's kind of muffled, and that's probably why we continue to kind of just like trade in a very tight trading range. Even but sorry, I can't speak right now, but following that 325 sell-off, I got to admit, we are just wedging higher. This isn't really a sign of strength. It isn't that great. 1265.59, 1265.85. So if you're wondering why the Russell 2000 is not switching to a buy signal today, that's why. It's about a few 20, 30 cents away from being able to switch. So another 25 cents and we'll have a buy signal on a closing basis. For right now, the Russell 2000 is just hanging in there. It's wedging higher, but the good news is it diverged from the rest of the indexes today and was actually higher today by 0.06%. The Dow Jones Transportation Average is down 0.70%, but it's still holding that 200-day moving average. So all in all, things are going pretty well. I don't need to really focus on the longs because there were none. I flagged GWPH as one that we need to watch now. Hopefully it can handle out, move sideways for a few days and break out without moving up 5% in one day. Get long that one. BBSI, also pocket pivot point signal. Volume is below average, so obviously it wasn't confirmed anywhere from the CAN Slim scan, so it's not a new long. CRTO was in the CAN Slim scan and in the price volume BOP scan, but that's not really a chart pattern I like to buy. You can see there's plenty of overhead resistance on the short term. And this stock doesn't even like to hold its breakouts really well, even when it does break out. So why would you want to buy this breakout? I mean, pattern's a pattern. And then the only other one I flagged was CCO. CCO, as you remember, was a long back here. And god damn it, 4.2 wouldn't have happened. We would still be long. 4.3, 4.2, and 4.6, I mean. But the big boomish day, 4.7. Look at volume and BOP. Beautiful. What was the matter with price that day? Well, it's too far off the highs. If it would have closed at 10.10, only down 1% overall from its high of day, I'd be cool with it. But with it closing at 10.04, I decided not to go long. Whoopsie daisy. And even if I would have done that, 10.04, let's say I would want to go long that day, 10.04, I set my limit at 10.05. Guess what doesn't get hit? My limit, so it doesn't really matter. 10% later, and it's kind of consolidating. Max Green BOP during the entire consolidation pattern. So if you really think the stock's going to break out higher, you could put one buy stop order above 11.15 at 11.16, and then another buy stop order above 11.33 at 11.34. That way you can get long the stock on a breakout. I would love to see CCO go sideways for just 2 more days. Just 2 more days. If it can do that and keep that Max Green BOP, I will personally set my buy stops on this one at 11.16, 11.34. For now, the handle's too short. I've got to cross my fingers and hope that it moves sideways on Max Green BOP, low volume, and then breaks out later on. If it breaks out now, I'm SOL, as I should have been long on this day, and I'm not. The price volume BOP surge scan with all that previous BOP, in hindsight, yeah, I probably should have rebought it back as soon as it went back above that 10.24 level. So as soon as it's back above 10.25, we're long. So we belong at 10.25 and it's 10.95. So next time I have a beautiful chart like this, it loses that beautiful chart, but then recaptures it on an amazing price and volume and BOP surge. we'll make sure that we re-add on the next time it gets past that old high on our initial long position. But there were no new longs, and there's some sells. EWM is a full sell. If you remember, my limit didn't get hit. This was the long signal. Beautiful long signal, I thought, but gapped up too high, so it missed my 1337 limit. Good news, because it has failed the 50-day moving average. It's lost that strengthening green bop and is slowly getting lower. And with it closing below the low day of the signal date, it is a full sell since we had previous gains. So EWM is gone. SERV hit 50% of my sell stops intraday. It was right below this low a day, so it took it out. So SERV, even on an end-of-day basis, is still a 50% sell. I'm going to give it, man, hopefully it bounces. If it closes below the 50-day moving average again, this time on huge volume, even if BOP isn't red, I'll probably be a full sell. If BOP is red, above average volume sell-off below 50-day moving average, confirming this sell-off, SERV is gone. RUBI, this heavy volume move below the 50-day moving average is a 50% sell signal. This now looks to be a top right here. The huge volume that day, it looked like it was basing out and still had a chance the entire time, even though it wasn't moving higher. It still looked like it had a chance, but with the heavier volume move below the 50-day moving average, that to me confirms this very heavy volume top here. I will continue to use these levels as my final cut loss level unless Ruby confirms this sell-off below the 50-day moving average with a heavier volume sell-off with BOP going severely negative. And if it goes red BOP, Ruby is completely gone 100%. And then CIVI is a 50% sell. Why not just 25%? It's only close below 20-day moving average. I just hate the way this stock's traded since I've gone long, and I'd rather be out of most of it. And then we'll let this low a day right here act as our final sell stop unless it closes below the 50-day moving average on huge volume with red BOP. If it does that, I'm just going to get out of the entire goddamn thing because like I said, I'm just not a fan of how it's acting. Yeah, it's almost up 25% since we went long, and I maybe should give it more time, but I'll tell you what, it's a big negative divergence compared to the overall market today. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of 50% of that. The rest of it will get out if it closes below here. But Ruby, CIVI, and SERV are on the same boat. Heavier volume sell-off again with the red BOP and closing your low days. They're gone. No longs. The only long I regret not getting lately is VICR. VICR gave a long signal here. It was only in our price volume BOP scan, so I didn't think it was necessarily good enough to buy. I liked it, but it wasn't in any other BOP scans. It wasn't in any other kind of scan, so I was like, all right, I'll pass on it. The very next day, it seemed like that was a smart move because, it had a pretty big pullback, but then on Friday and then today on Monday, hindsight is 20/20.